farting so bad today. Oh, God. Oh, I could do that, Laura. I'm gonna have to like plot it out though with pencil or something first.
Getting ready for baby moves.
No, we're at the moment we're talking about my daughter's birthday party.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Frozen themed.
Aw.
So I'm making a little. We have white foam core, and I'm gonna make a little Olaf like standy thing that they can take a picture with.
Oh, cute.
That's all it is around here, man. Just cute shit. That's why I need movies like this to keep me balanced, you know?
Yeah, I remember those days. Now that Delaney's older, it's nice because it gets me out of having to watch the schmaltzy stuff with Colleen on TV. Because Delaney's down for watching it. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you go.
Go for it, yeah. Okay, we're live. Link is out.
Hello, Internet. Huh.
I like the poster for this movie.
Yeah. Get into it to the game. But for the record, I did like the dance scenes. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, they're really like mesmerizing because they go on for so long, and it's just this like kind of pulsating like trance music. You get lost in it a little bit.
Yeah.
Playing anything good?
I actually fired up Destiny 2 over the weekend for the first time.
Oh yeah, how's that?
That's all right. They I need to get back to it some. They gave it um, some time ago. They were giving it away for free, at least like the base version over BattleNet, and I grabbed it then, and it's been sitting there for a while. So I'm like, you know what? I need distraction. I need to get into a game, so I fired it up. I don't know if you played the first one much.
No, but I heard the shooting's like very good, but you know.
Yeah, I mean it's fun and it's no different than running around finding loot. It's a good time sink for a little bit, and it's kind of cool from what I played a lot of the first one on the PlayStation 4, and from what I remember of it, it's kind of cool that some of the settings that they've recreated here because it's after other things that's happened in the storyline, so stuff's overgrown and changed and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool too.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I always heard about. I mean, like I've always heard the shooting is really amazing. Like it feels good. It feels like it's probably similar to Warframe, and that it's might be a little impenetrable once you get into all the systems and the different kinds of like currencies you need. And
Yeah, it can be, but it's cool too though because you get a lot of different types of guns and stuff like that. The armor stuff is kind of basic, but like you get a lot of different kind of guns to play around with and different kinds of machine guns and different ammo and stuff like that. I haven't got into any of the crafting and stuff yet.
yeah, I've been kind of tooling around my laptop a little bit on my lunch breaks and just like playing stuff on Steam that I only need like a mouse for. You know what I mean? Like nothing too crazy, but
Oh yeah,
I was playing that survival game or the city builder thing. The hell's it called? The one we were talking about, the medieval one,
yeah.
banished. And then like I was playing Heroes of Might and Magic 3 today,
Oh nice.
which is actually like great because it's just like I play the game a million times. It's like relaxing. It's a nice like sweet spot for me. All right, do we? Okay, can you hear this?
Yes.
All right, let me check my settings. Settings. Audio. Okay, settings look good. I'm gonna crank this up. Testing, testing. Can you give me a testing?
Testing, testing. One, two, three.
Great. I've been trying to solve this, like why our output is so low
Yeah.
without making us too loud, because that's always inevitably what happens. But It's got to be a knob on our.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, can I get a? I'm gonna actually do a quick test record here,
Okay.
and I'm gonna say test. Wait, which one's mine? Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Can I get a test from you, John?
Test, test. 1, 2, 3.
Casey.
Test, test. 1, 2, 3.
All right. All right, stand by.
Sorry.
You get right out of here.
That sounded disgusting, dude. Everybody be quiet for a second.
Leather chair.
And I'm gonna say test.
Good for acoustics.
Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Can I get a test from you, John?
Test, test. 1, 2, 3.
All right. John, test from you.
Test, test. Test,
Case-
test, test.
Casey.
Test, test. 1, 2, 3.
All right, now I'm afraid you guys are too loud. So I'm gonna. All right, test. I'm gonna do one more record. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Test. This is a test. John, you can test now. Wherever you would normally talk. Don't get ready to like however you'd naturally do it.
All right. Test, test, test. This is how I would normally talk.
Okay, Casey.
Yeah, this is how I'd normally talk too, right here, just like John did.
Okay, great. Test. Stand by. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Test. This is a test. John, you can test now. Wherever you would normally talk. Don't get ready to like however you'd naturally do it.
All right. Test, test, test. This is how I would normally talk.
Okay, Casey.
Yeah, this what is you munching on there, John? Too, right here, just
It's a little
like John
birthday
did.
cake
Okay,
for
great.
my wife.
All right.
No,
Oh.
her birthday's not till this weekend, but
Okay.
But you already got into the cake.
we did a little party on that, or
think-
this last weekend. Yeah.
I think we're better now.
Is Joe on? He said he was on.
I wish I was here. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello, hello. I want to hear myself like louder in my own headphones, but I can't do that without cranking you guys up too loudly.
It's not just about you, dude.
False. Joe's on, you said?
He said he was going to be on in 1 minute, and that was like 5 minutes ago, but I can't confirm.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him yet. Except for his Rihanna gif.
Top of the show topics.
Sup, bitches.
There he is.
We can talk about I mean the gathering. We can talk about the 5K.
Like
we kind of announced a bunch of stuff.
The Juggalo gathering?
Yeah, the gathering of BGH lows.
Bugalows. The
So I
bugalows.
feel-
Ooh, the bugalows.
I feel like we don't have to talk about I feel like we talk about it every week, and it's
Yeah,
still
it's
like 4 months away.
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys talked about it last week. All right.
What are we
Why don't-
talking?
Necessarily have to get into it, but I watched The Wandering Earth, that $700 million Chinese sci-fi flick that Netflix
Oh yeah, I want to watch that.
What the
blindly put out.
fuck are you talking about?
It was,
Why don't we Eric tossed out the idea of putting it to a Patreon vote of Godzilla and Ma. We can talk about that.
It doesn't even have
So-
to. It doesn't even have to be formal either. The other thing is we could always just push one off a week. I mean, 2 weeks around the theaters, it
Yeah.
might be a lot, but
Yeah. So just to give you an idea, here's what we got. Next week we're open, so we got to figure that out.
Hmm,
We then have Brightburn, which it sounds like we're not doing in the theater.
no.
Then we have Godzilla and Ma the same week.
also Memorial Day weekend, I'm out of town, so it might be difficult. Is that-
That's the week of Brightburn.
Okay, so maybe we can push that one.
Oh no, Brightburn's this weekend, isn't it?
Uh,
Oh no. Sorry, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
It's
Good.
up-
I
it-
appreciate your
It's up to you guys.
contrition.
Brightburn feels like one that could get pushed to video. I want to
Yeah.
do it, but I don't know. Like to me, Godzilla and or Ma feels more like things that.
I mean,
We should do.
I am pretty excited for Brightburn, but if you guys don't want to be in the theater, that's fine.
I'm pretty excited for Brightburn too, but I don't have the pressures that you and Joe do.
I'm just trying
Yeah.
to balance it. That's all.
I do, Casey, and I'm, not super comfortable giving them a pass, but I will. So
But John, I
Yeah.
think we've talked about this. Eric and I care for our
Yeah.
children.
Also,
right?
you have a nanny, John. So get out of this conversation right now.
Yeah,
well,
that's true.
yeah. I also have a
Yeah.
wife that works like 70 hours a week, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine too.
Again, I respect my wife, so that's why I don't just like
Yeah.
That's-
disappear for weekends.
That's fine. We have an open after Godzilla and Ma, so we could just bump the next one. However, as of right now, there's then 3 more straight weeks in the theater.
Yeah, it's not,
Which like
it's not gonna
some of
happen.
that stuff we don't. Yeah, I
it's
mean
not
some of
gonna
that stuff we
happen.
don't have to cover.
So let's do this.
but-
Let's just say, hey, informal poll. Hit us up on Twitter and/or Slack and tell us if you'd rather have us review Ma or Godzilla right away, and we can just like say we can test the temperature ourselves. It doesn't have to be like a formal poll.
I just feel like Godzilla is like the one you got to see in the theater.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
feel like Mom, we could definitely wait on, but whatever.
Mom.
Hey John,
Well, then
wipe
we
your
don't have
chin.
to. That's fine too. I don't care if you guys want to do Godzilla. It's fine. I only brought it up
Yeah.
because somebody was like questioning it when we were talking about it. I think it was
It's fine.
Schnars.
Well, yeah, obviously, John will do anything to get out of that house.
Did I get it, Casey? I like.
Yeah, you got it. It wasn't big.
Okay.
Oh, All right,
Yeah, it looks like the whole month of July is off. So as of right now, I mean, I'm sure some stuff's gonna get slotted, but
I mean, that's kind of usually around the time we'll take like some time off too. Summertime. All right, let me.
That's a hard choice.
If everybody could be quiet for a second, I just have to double check this recording, so stand by.
Eric tossed out the idea of putting it to a Patreon vote of Godzilla and Ma. We can talk about that.
It doesn't even have
So-
to. It doesn't have to be formal either. The other thing is we could always just push one off a week. I mean, 2 weeks around the theaters it
Yeah.
might be a lot, but
yeah. So just to give you an idea, here's what we got. Next week we're open, so we got to figure that out.
Hmm.
We then have Brightburn, which it sounds like we're not doing in the theater.
Yeah.
Then we have Godzilla and Ma the same week.
also Memorial Day weekend I'm out of town, so it might be difficult. Is that-
That's the week of Brightburn.
Okay, so maybe we can push that one.
Oh no, Brightburn's this weekend, isn't it?
All right, we're gonna do one more test here. Sorry, guys. I just every time I do this and I end up adjusting too far in the other direction. This is me testing, John. Testing, 1, 2, 3. How about you?
I am also testing now. This is me testing.
How about you, Casey?
This is Casey, and I am testing as well.
Joe?
I'm gonna test John. This is me testing John.
How do I sound? How do I sound now to you guys? I sound a little better in my ears now.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Yeah, I mean,
No
you
different.
sound great.
All right,
Mm.
all right, stand by. I just every time I do this and I end up adjusting too far in the other direction. This is me testing, John. Testing, 1, 2, 3. How about you?
I am also testing now. This is me testing.
How about you, Casey?
This is Casey, and I am testing as well.
Joe?
I'm gonna test John.
Okay, I think that I feel more comfortable with that.
Mm.
All right, I'm recording. Let's just talk about the gathering, the 5K at the top. We can talk about Godzilla briefly if we want, and then we can get into it.
Aight.
Dirty French Techno, the show. All right, I'm ready. Stand by.
Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror, your home for weird 90s tech music, which we're going to find out more about later when we talk about Joe's shiny shirts. But first up, my name is Eric. I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Gaspar Noe's Climax. You're gonna hear that word a lot tonight, John. So I hope people are okay with it.
I climaxed before we started, so we're good. We're good here.
Joining me tonight, first up.
I had to get it in early. So.
Oh,
First up,
sounds like you got it out. Yeah.
early and often is his motto. From New York City, New York. Please welcome John Schnars.
Hello, Eric.
Next up, from Chicago, Illinois. Please welcome Joe.
All right, very excited.
And finally tonight, from Indiana, Casey.
Hello.
We are missing at the moment Cece. She may be joining us later. Much like this movie, it's like a fun little, like tease ahead. Like maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. What's gonna happen? We don't know. Maybe
Cece's lies becoming more and more elaborate every week as to why she's not going to be
maybe somebody spiked John's drink and he's gonna be tripping in like 20 minutes, and you never know.
Dare to dream.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, what's up, G?
We have a couple of big things we're planning for the fall. The fall time is our time, you might say. the time.
Spooky season is upon us already. Well, yeah, we're just finally, today I think is the first day that it's almost hit 70 here in the Midwest, so we got that going for us. But we're already looking ahead to fall time for two big events. One we've kind of talked about already, and that is our big meetup that we're doing on September 21st. We're calling it Spooktoberfest here in Chicago. It's going to be at Crown Liquors. More info on our Facebook page and more info to come, but pretty much Saturday, 4 p.m. We're going to be doing trivia again, hanging out, having some drinks. That Friday night, the 20th, we're also doing a Patreon get-together at a spot in Chicago, which we'll be sending an email to our patron subscribers. We pretty much decided that anyone's a member is gonna get in on this. So if you want some free beers, just literally sign up for the $1 a month, and you know, you'll at least get one beer out of us if you show up. The other thing we got going on is the weekend of October 19th. That's the 19th and the 20th. We are doing our second annual Bloody Good Horror virtual 5K. It was a huge success last year, so we're very excited to be doing this again and hope to get more folks to turn out. One caveat this year, and it's just based on some of the shipping challenges we had last year, is we're limiting the prize goodies that we're going to send out to North America, unfortunately. That's not to say that our overseas friends cannot partake, but just because of, I think I'm on some sort of government watch list now for all the packages I was sending out, and it got super expensive, and we're doing this for free. So, you know, you guys, you know, go to hell if you're not happy. But yeah,
just immigrate to the U.S. It's really easy these days, and we highly recommend it. So
across the border. I mean, that's
unless you win.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, I think last year our winner was from Ireland, and obviously we'll ship you
in other words,
a medal or whatever we decide to do if you win. But,
right. If you live in America, you'll get the participation trophy. If not, then sorry.
Yeah. So, October 19th and 20th, more info going to be posted on the site. We're a ways out, but I am very excited for the fall. We're actually talking about in the get-together here in Chicago, I think Saturday morning, we're going to do kind of a small little meetup and do a training run if anybody's in the area. So, you know.
By training, you mean like, you know, people shuffling?
Yeah, I mean, odds are,
hungover.
Depending on how
It's
the
not gonna
Friday
happen.
night get-together goes, that will be canceled
may
Saturday morning,
not
but, you know,
happen.
we'll see. As of right now, I got high hopes.
Joe, you know I'm really excited. I think I'm actually going to be able to run this year.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm running.
I was gonna ask Joe, who came in dead last time? Do you remember?
It was not someone from the show. So
what?
I
thought it was Eric.
I'm not gonna name names. No.
That was an Eric. That was me.
Oh, wasn't
making
me?
a
I
bust
thought.
on Eric.
I thought it was.
Well,
me.
we did. Well, no, I mean we had folks that walked the entire thing too. So you know,
did I.
it's not about fastest time or anything. We don't post anyone's time or mock anyone.
No, I mean
Unless it's Eric.
I used to run, but haven't really been able to in a while just because of like health issues. But so I walked it, John.
Yeah, I'll never not give Eric a hard time. Just
That's
to be
fine.
clear.
But no, I'm getting my sea legs back. I think I'm going to be ready, Joe. I think I'm going to be a contender this year.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It was a ton of fun last year. We got a ton of really cool pics that people posted up and stuff. The turnout was I think even better than we expected. So I'm really excited for this year's.
Very exciting. You know what I'm excited about? A little guy I like to call Techno Joe.
Oh.
So Gaspar Noe's Climax, it's set in 1996 France, as I'm
Yeah.
sure Schnars will regale us with lots of details on later. But of course, I didn't even realize it was set in the 90s. But I'm hearing all this like great trance-like techno music, and it turns out most of it's real stuff. There's some original tracks, and
Mhm.
Joe and I were like going back and forth on the soundtrack on Spotify today. Somebody put it together. But
Yeah.
it just brings up this whole fact that I don't know a lot of people are aware of, that Joe had a techno phase.
Well, I mean, I think everybody that was in high school did in the late 90s.
You
There
know what
was
it
like
was?
this period where like,
You know what it was for me? It was that song Blue.
oh, yeah, see, that was a little bit after.
I mean, I'm younger than you are, but I remember people being obsessed with that, and suddenly
Yeah.
everybody was like into Euro techno.
I mean, the soundtrack to this, a lot of the songs were like right in my wheelhouse. Like the one that stuck out to me is there's a scene later. I think just as stuff is starting to amp up, that there's like a Daft Punk song from their first album, Homework, and like it stuck out to me. And then like I was listening to that album today. Like there was this period in the late 90s where MTV like actually played videos, and they had this show called Amped where it was all just like electronic music. I mean, like
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
mainstream electronic music, like the Chemical Brothers and Daft
Yeah, I
Punk.
was
It
gonna say,
wasn't
not-
like
Not like
crazy.
house.
So for the
Yeah, makes sense.
uninitiated here, I've got a picture here of Techno Joe in the video.
Mhm.
You're wearing what we've surmised are like second, like knockoff,
Off-brand.
knockoff,
Off-brand
knockoff
Genkos, yeah.
Jenkos, and some type of silvery, shiny button-up shirt. Can you explain this look to us a little more? I've got it in the video
mean-
for people who want to see.
I mean, the other problem was I had a job in high school, so like sky's the limit as far as like terrible shiny shirts. that
Also,
I
it's
could,
so funny. You're trying to look so tough in this picture. It's my favorite part of this picture. Let me post it
Wow.
into the chat here. Oh, my wife is looking now.
as you do when you've got your shiny wares on. I mean, there was that one. I had like this blue shiny shirt, like which I actually think like I got for my birthday. Like it was like what I asked my parents for. It was a whole thing. It was a different time. It was a different time, kids.
I'm sort of shocked your parents bought you that. Like they encouraged it, you know?
I would
I mean-
also like to say, for as much as we rip on Schnars, you are surrounded by the crew of the whitest dudes I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think
This is
my
like
parents-
this is like an old Navy ad standing around you here. You actually are the coolest looking dude in this group photo here.
I appreciate that. I think I didn't realize at the time, but I'm pretty sure my parents had a plan of like, yeah, sure, we'll buy you whatever you want, Joe. Like you will not get laid until college, and that's
Was it a hard transition?
So it was like it was a pity gift, is what you're
No.
saying.
no. I think it was like deliberate.
No,
like,
they're playing birth control.
yeah, it's like, oh yeah, absolutely, we'll buy you this disgusting shirt.
Was it a
Wear
hard,
it every day.
was it a hard transition from like Techno Joe to Metal Joe? Like how did that happen?
I mean, the two were walking the line together at this point. I mean, there was a lot going on. There was techno, there was fish, there was metal. Like it was
Okay, so I'm getting
Well,
a picture of this.
and you
so
never lost sight of Linda Ronstadt, so that's
you were
What's
basically
that?
this was you're trying to find yourself.
I mean, it's stuff I still listen to this day. I'm a versatile guy. What can I say?
Did you ever screw up and wear your shiny shirts to a metal show?
No, dear God, no.
Oh no. Guys, check
No.
out the shiny shirt guy. What's his deal?
oh
This is
man.
great. I
What a-
love this.
What a time to be alive, huh?
Is this college?
No, that's
Because I don't
high
recognize
school.
any of these people around you.
That would be senior year high school. I mean, yeah,
Gotcha.
your brother graduated with all those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
These-
your
these
brother
guys look-
also have a shiny shirt?
These
phase, Eric, or
guys
was that
these
just
guys look
not
way
happening?
too clean cut to have hung out with my brother in high school.
No, your brother was like straight up Eminem.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
He had vomit on his sweater already.
All right. Well, this has been
Oh,
a fun
God.
little trip down the Joe's memory lane here.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
I would say
everybody,
the
for
one thing
indulging
that
me.
stuck out to me was, and I love this on any show or movie where their timeline is off, because this movie is supposed to take place in '96, but that Daft Punk song that they played did not come out till '97.
Oh. My wife is delighted by this your whole photo thing, Joe. So
Oh yeah, there's more. I'm sure I can dig up. Not that I want to.
Just do an Eric show of you sending him pictures and yeah, let Eric respond. That sounds
one.
good. Just keep it off the main show is all I ask.
John, you should just be thankful it's not aimed at you. I'm
Yeah.
sure you have a whiter photo somewhere.
I don't think I ever owned a shiny shirt though.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't
Pretty
either.
sure.
I did one time pay $50 or $60 for a pair of Echo shorts, jean shorts. Remember Echo? That was a little later.
No, I don't know what that is. Thankfully.
I definitely very much remember that like weird man bell bottom Jinko phase where like the bell bottoms just went all like literally you were in a skirt almost. And I remember, I think I've told the story before, but there was a kid, kind of like a, I'm not sure how you would, I'm not sure an inoffensive way to explain who this kid was, but he made like a pair of Jinkos like that same style out of duct tape.
Okay.
Like the whole
That's
pant
cool.
situation was made out of duct tape.
I respect the drive, you know,
There was
the
there
creative
was-
vision.
The other crazy thing is people skateboarded in those pants.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
they were like skateboarding pants.
I mean, that
like,
doesn't
was
make-
their whole thing.
That's
You
just
think I get caught up on shit?
that's just impractical.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I've been
I
mad
was
on
more-
the whole
yeah,
techno phase.
More like a jorts skateboarding kind of guy, is what you're saying?
Where you need a
Shorts.
little like breathing room, right? Joe,
Yeah.
final question on the subject.
Yeah.
Like the drug rug, if these types of jeans were to come back and become somewhat acceptable again, would you rock them?
I mean, I think I can get by with the drug rug like hanging out in the backyard, but there's no way in hell Leslie's gonna put up with Jenkos coming into this house. So
What
I
if,
personally, absolutely.
but what
Would
if
it
like
happen?
things
No,
just
not a
swing?
chance.
What if things just swing the other way and you just start seeing them everywhere and slowly like it just starts to feel more accepted? Like
It's just no, she's not gonna let it
Okay.
happen. Like I mean, because a lot of people are wearing drug rugs now. Like you see them everywhere. It doesn't change the fact that she's disgusted by it.
I think what we should glean from this is that your wife is a saint.
Well, yeah, I mean, she puts up with a lot.
Speaking of putting up with a lot, Joe,
Yeah.
you're our beer expert because you like to drink a lot.
Oh, expert, sure.
I mean, I would call you that, don't you think?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you might not be right, but I appreciate it.
Oh, well, sure. So with that said, Joe, please bring us this week's beer.
Beer guts.
Climax. It's a movie about stuff happening, but you don't need to know anything about it for this week's beer pick because it is from the fine folks at Climax Brewing Company. They're in Roselle Park, New Jersey. And the beer I picked from them is one of my favorites. It's their Nut Brown Ale.
That
which-
is my favorite style, Joe. One of them.
pretty spot on with all the climaxing. Theirs is interesting, so it varies a little bit from your
Wait a second. Is that
Yeah.
why you picked it?
Nut Brown Ale from
Wow.
Climax. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unfold here.
No schnorrs,
Uh,
no reaction from that?
I'm just letting it go. Eric.
Okay.
Just gonna let it go.
Yeah.
Is this the
so-
alternate pick? Did you have a different pick if Cece was here?
No, absolutely not. No, she's Cece. Odd fun story. I think like for most of the weekend, Cece, Kyle, and I were texting back and forth our favorite '90s country hits, because we discovered that we share that love. So we really bonded over the weekend. But anyhow, we're not here to talk about that. Climax Brewing, as I said, in the fine state of New Jersey. They don't distribute super far, but if you're in the tri-state area, you can probably find their stuff. It's fun because they actually just package small growlers. They don't put out like cans, or at least they didn't when I still lived there. This one comes in at 5.2% alcohol, so not super high. So you can drink this entire gallon and still be perfectly fine to drive, or half gallon, I think they come in. So it's a brown ale, but they do it a little differently. Pretty much they mix a stout and a pale ale. So you do get like a little bit of a hopness to this. But for the most part, a ton of caramel, sort of a coffee flavor you get in there, a lot of molasses, things like that. Really good for, when you're getting into like the fall months that we've kind of been talking about, or even now when it's still kind of cold out, or, I just like brown ales year round.
Just straight to my veins all the time.
just dump it in my gullet. And
They're-
yeah, I mean, they're
Great.
yeah, I mean, supposedly according to their website, they're the oldest craft brewery in New Jersey. I don't know, how they figure that out, but whatever. But everything I've had of theirs is really good. So definitely pick it up if you are in the area. You can find their stuff. Climaxbrewing.com is their website, and that'll do it.
I was always a big fan of the Brooklyn Brown Ale, Joe.
Oh yeah, they put out great stuff. I'm a big fan.
All right, guys. 'Tis time to climax.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
John.
Yes, Eric.
You might say Sophisticult has come to Bloody Good Horror.
You certainly could. In fact, I did and was chided for it on Slack.
Gaspar Noe's Climax. This is one of those dudes I forget that I kind of know who he is. I'm not even sure if I've seen another one of his movies, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm in the same boat because I'm almost positive I've never seen any of his
It's
films.
like I hear his name.
but
I hear his
I know
name
a
and
lot about him.
Yeah, like I hear his name and I go, oh, that's a dude I'm vaguely familiar with.
Well,
Gaspar.
I'll tell you, I thought he had made way more movies because this is really only, I think, his fourth feature film. So that was surprising to me because I thought
He made that like Into the Void or something, right? Like I've heard a lot about that, but I've never
Enter the
actually
Void,
seen
yeah.
Enter the Void,
Yeah.
Did we do that?
No.
No, I knew him from. Now I forget the
2000.
name of it. Is it Irreversible?
Yeah, Irreversible was his. That was his debut, and that was,
My favorite Beyonce song.
it's well, the movie is probably a little different.
Different, yeah.
It's
But
pretty
yeah.
brutal.
Okay, so he did that. I'm familiar with that one. Okay, yeah, interesting. Cool. He seems like a weird guy.
He's definitely got some ideas about movies. So
John, you got your work cut out for you tonight because the name of the movie, Climax, is in itself a pretty aggressive word. It's a pretty strong word.
see, if I had gone with Climax, you would have given me hell no end.
No, my
Oh.
point is just that you now have your work cut out for you.
There was predictions on our Instagram of you actually using Climax, and I didn't want to bring it up until now because I was scared that you would change your pick based
Well,
on
yeah,
them
you don't
watching.
want to, you don't want to taint the whole experiment. So,
Yeah.
all right, well, let's find out, John. Please bring us the word of the day.
Today's word is not climax, but it is choreography.
Whoa! All right, buddy.
CHOREOGRAPHY. The sequence of steps and movements in dance or figure skating, especially in a ballet or other staged dance. It's also the art or practice of designing choreographic sequences or the written notation for choreographic sequences. Comes to us originally, goes all the way back, and maybe you could have guessed this, but the Greek word chorus.
I
Which
was gonna
actually,
guess that.
yeah, it just meant chorus. It was the same word, spelled a little differently. But then they actually had a word chorea, dancing in unison, which eventually gets anglicized, sort of converted into English in the late 18th century, where we get choreography and the formal sort of writing of notation for dance.
The
Great.
art of the dance.
And what does that have
There
to
you
do?
go.
What does that have to do with this movie, John?
Yeah, so Climax, as we said, the fourth film, I think it's fourth. I'm going to go with fourth. Film from Gaspar Noe, or I'm going to go with Noe. There's an accent on the E, which would make me want to pronounce it Noe, but we'll let somebody correct us.
Doesn't feel right
and make
to
us
me.
feel dumb.
I'd prefer you didn't.
Gaspar Noe. It's in some ways a very thin plot in that the setup here is you've got a group of about 20 dancers. They are working together. They're French, as I think Joe or Eric mentioned up front. They are working together on a production. And the film opens with, and this is actually the only real giveaway about the time period. It opens with this sort of like VHS recording of testimonials from all of the characters. So there's literally, it's like 15 minutes of just 45-second, 1-minute snippets of one or two of the characters talking about why they're participating in this production presentation. But we see them come together, essentially perform a final rehearsal or a rehearsal. I don't know if it's the final. And they're in some sort of like school or other, I don't know, just building that seems to have a sort of a gym, but then sort of branching hallways and other rooms that we see them move in and out of. But they go through this rehearsal, and then they have a party where essentially just, hey, like, let's all hang out together, blow off some steam. And there's a woman there who's hosting it. She has her son is there. He's probably like 7, if I had to guess.
Oh, boy.
And otherwise, yeah, you've just got this broad cast of dancers, and they start to have this party, and they all have different things going on. We see them interacting and having different conversations, and about a third of the way into the film, a third of the way into the party, they all begin to feel a little funny, and they realize that the punch they've all been drinking, or the sangria they've all been drinking, was spiked with LSD.
You say that fancy.
Sangria,
Yeah, that's-
which, yeah. So yeah, they.
I guess I guess you say that as I would expect you to.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
You say that like someone whose bartender has spit in their sangria for pronouncing it that way.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right, just let me get through this.
Some dipshit,
so yeah, they all-
dipshit just ordered sangria. Dave, come here and dip your balls in it.
All right.
It's for a cop.
Yeah. So they.
Guys, some narc just ordered this drink.
Does that look like spit to you?
Listen. They all have LSD in the sangria, and they really start to lose it.
Oh, shit does not go well for anyone in this movie.
No, I mean that's
a couple
essentially
people.
Or one person, arguably. Yeah.
that's the setup.
Man.
I mean, the rest of the film builds toward a climax, if you will, but not the fun kind. It's sort of more the I'm having the worst trip of my life kind, if I had to describe it. So,
I mean, again, for some people.
spoiler alert? I don't know. You tell me.
All right. Climax. Joe,
Oof.
what'd you think
Where
of this
to-
bad boy?
Where to begin? I really enjoyed this. It's interesting. I started watching this, and I'm about 20 minutes in, and
Did you watch this on the train?
I did.
Fantastic.
I got about 20 minutes in, and then I started questioning like what the hell we were doing. But shortly after that, I got kind of hooked. Like, it's very unnerving, the entire movie. Like, there's a lot of I think I talked about this over email. There's a lot of scenes where I almost feel like he's daring you to skip ahead. Like he's like taunting you.
Daring you to keep watching.
Like they're super interesting and well done. There's like choreographed dances, but like they go on for like 10 minutes. And there's scenes that just seem to like really drag out a lot longer than you think they should. I think there's like 2 dance sequences where I'm like, at a
Dude,
certain point, this has got to end.
I gotta say,
right? Like,
I loved the dance sequences though.
Yeah, I also love the dancing.
they were great, but like something bad is going to happen. So like they're almost uncomfortable, like despite the fact that they're really well done, because you're expecting something to happen, and then they go on for like 10 minutes, and you're like, what the hell is sort of the payoff here? And it's. I mean, I read some quotes from him where he said like this movie's supposed to make you uncomfortable, and like mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Like well done.
Thanks for the understatement of the year, bro.
Like I can see like 20 years ago me thinking that this movie's stupid and hating it, but I think now like I just looking at it through the lens of us watching some a little smarter films. I really loved this movie a lot. Like more the further I get away from it, I can't stop thinking about it.
Turns out I'm okay with subtitles, Joe, as long as the people are talking French, because it's delightful to listen to.
Yeah. I mean, the other
saying filthy things to each other.
I do.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, we'll talk about it later. I don't want to get in too deep.
Casey.
Let's see. I've seen Irreversible. It's been a long time, so I didn't really know for sure what I was getting in there. I hadn't seen Enter the Void. I heard crazy things, so getting into it. My first time through this movie, I did not like the first half of it as much as I did the second half of it. This movie is distinctly marked into 2 halves, which I thought was a really cool stylistic choice with the way he presented this. And we can get into that later. And when you get into that second half, this movie is absolutely bonkers. It is unsettling. It is uncomfortable to watch, and it's really well shot. The way that it kind of transposes that onto the screen. The first half I didn't like. I didn't like it. I like the dance scenes. I like the long, lingering camera shots on the dance scenes and stuff. That stuff I was fine with. It was the dialogue I had a problem with at first. But after watching the movie last night, I started digging around, reading on Wikipedia things, and they talked about how there wasn't any script for the first half of this movie. He had the people show up. Most of them were professional dancers with no acting experience, and told them to improvise. Essentially, gave them some slight framework, let them run with it, which made the dialogue make a little more sense. And then you guys, when we discussed this earlier, and we'll get into it later, about how this dialogue kind of feels natural for what was going on in this movie with the LSD and stuff like that, and which I'd never really experienced before. So then after thinking about it that way, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I see what they're
I
building
mean,
with.
it's also being translated from a language you don't speak, so I think there's probably
Yeah.
some nuance lost in the translation too.
So that first watch, I would say it could be a slog, but it's definitely worth getting through that slog too. And it's going to make more sense when you get to the end of it. Well, I think this is definitely a movie. By the time you get to the end of it, it makes a much better whole looking back on it.
John.
Yeah, I didn't watch the trailer. I knew nothing about this except that it was about dancers and LSD
Okay.
and Gaspar Noe.
So you did know the LSD thing though, because that's actually key, because it's not mentioned in the movie until 45 minutes in, whereas it is in the trailer.
yeah,
But it is in the plot descriptions everywhere, though.
yeah,
Right, but
well,
like
exactly. That's why
we can talk about it, but I almost wonder. I wonder if it's better or worse not knowing that. I imagine if you're
Well-
into the first half and you don't know it, it might be even more brutal to sit through, like in a good way. But I also imagine
Yeah.
it might be easier to lose you in the first half if
Yeah.
you're not waiting for what you know is happening, right?
No, I mean, look, I think part of it is also how this thing gets marketed or presented to people, because even if you don't know the LSD thing, if you're told that this is a horror movie
It
or
also
that this is
it also
like
opens with a bloody person in the snow. So like, and you still know it's gonna go bad.
but to Casey's point, you have to get through a lot of stuff that is not horror and frankly doesn't even point toward a direction of horror. To me, this movie feels very similar, and I can't remember what the last movie was that we talked about, but it's got that sort of like naturalistic 90s vibe.
Oh, John, are we talking
like-
about Dogma 95, John?
Yeah, I mean, or like we were talking about Jarmusch a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago. You know,
Mm.
I know Joe has a real soft spot from his art school days for a lot of these, like, but it has that very mumblecore before mumblecore was mumblecore kind of vibe to it, where I mean, it's also structured very strangely. It opens with these video testimonials that are being shown on a TV screen, so they're very clearly sort of VHS recordings. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on, and then it has this, I don't know, 15-minute dance number or like 10-minute dance number that is excellently choreographed. It's beautifully shot. It's one take, as far as I could tell.
There's
So-
a lot of like one single takes that they sort of like later on too. There's a lot of long takes that I think they're hiding cuts, but it feels like one unedited
yeah.
thing.
There's at least one that I couldn't figure out where they would
How
have
th-
cut
how
it.
they
There's a
did it,
lot of
yeah.
like light and dark and changes that you could probably sneak something in, but I mean, we can come to those later. But so you get through all this stuff and you're like, what the fuck is this movie? And then to Casey's point, once it starts to really go sideways, it's funny. It doesn't go off a cliff, right? It's not like there's a lot of movies that this made me think about, but the movie Baskin, where
Yeah.
Baskin has like a lot of dark shit going on, and you're like, oh, this looks like it's gonna get grimy. But when it gets grimy, it goes like full up to 11 at the first drop. This actually really takes its time to build, and you've got a lot of interpersonal drama that starts out just as drama, and then it gets amped up, and then it gets amped up again to the point where there's a potentially pregnant woman being assaulted. There's like incestuous rape going on. I mean, there is just like insane shit going on in this movie.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's both graphic but also not graphic. I think the way that it is presented and the naturalism of the way that the cinematography is and the way that it's structured makes it feel more graphic than it actually like you don't there's not like a lot of stuff that's shown to you, but what
Yeah.
it allows you to imagine, and the disorientating
It's
disorientation
yeah, it's
that it causes.
shocking. It's shocking, but not like insanely graphic.
Well,
Mm.
there's also parts. I mean, again, now I'm just I'll stop. But there's sequences where some of these long shots, he just turns the camera upside down
Yeah.
for
Oh.
no goddamn reason.
Well,
At a certain
no,
point,
but
I was trying to
but
figure out if something was wrong with my copy.
no, I disagree for no reason though, because what he
no,
does is speaking to
yes.
like your naturalistic thing. There is no CGI attempt at mimicking the like visual hallucinations that you get from LSD.
Totally.
But
Yeah, it's all
but
in camera.
but he's
and done
using
through-
his camera
yeah.
to make you feel disoriented, and the upside down shots are absolutely a part of that.
No. Total. Yeah. I mean, I understand what he's. I'm just saying, like when it first happens,
It's still a
it is
what the fuck
very
moment.
bizarre.
Because I
Yeah.
think it happens in the opening dance number for a little bit, doesn't it? Doesn't
You
he
kind
go
of get like
upside
an
down?
aerial
Yeah, he goes
shot.
up
Yeah,
from, like,
Oh,
he
above.
goes
I
very
love-
high. Well,
I love that
there's,
shot
like-
so much.
yeah, half of the no, it's actually a later dance scene. I think after the drugs have started to kick in.
The entire
and-
thing is above, yeah.
Yeah, and the people are just in the circle doing the dance.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff was just
So
gorgeous.
yeah, I mean, I really didn't know anything about this. I had watched the trailer just so we could decide what to do for the show. I hadn't heard any buzz or anything. Didn't know what to expect. I went in feeling like I can tell this is like a super artsy fartsy thing. I'm like I just don't want to hate it. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to be open to it, but also just being like it's gonna be what it is. And since I've seen it, I'm like I'm trying to keep my hyperbole in check because I hate being accused of like hyping people up, but I can't like this thing blew me away. I
Mhm.
love this movie, and I think what it does is achieve something very rare, which is like this is a fart smelling ass art house movie, and it's also a really legit genre movie that like it packs a genre punch while still being incredibly pretentious, but in a way that works for what it is. And I think that I'm going to go to bat for the first half of this movie. I think that if you can just let it happen and try to go with it, knowing it's where it's going to kind of get there eventually, what they're actually doing is, John, you mentioned this over email, they're like, he actually gets across an enormous amount of character information about almost all these people. There's like 15 whatever
Yeah.
characters, and they all have at least a base of them fleshed out. And what he's doing is like, he is sowing the seeds of like social discord that are going to culminate later. And like the thing that you see happen, the thing about LSD is that like it tends to kind of take what's in the air and amplify it. And so like if you know that, when you see the way he's setting up this character tension, and it starts with these vignettes when they're kind of like they're saying like the one guy's like, oh, I've never worked with gay people before, or like the brother, and even from that first vignette with the brother and sister, you're like, there's some weird ass shit going on here. I don't know what's going on with them. But again, it's like this is this thing that Joe mentioned, this weird creeping tension, even though it doesn't feel like a genre movie, you know where it's going somewhere, and it's like he's just like these little building blocks, right? And then we get in the studio, we have this just incredible dance scene. I don't even care how long it is. I could have watched 90 minutes of that dance scene. Like it was so
Right.
fascinating.
Oh yeah.
Then you're like, oh, you're feeling great. You're like, oh, these people are great. They're like dancing together. They're really great. And then they break down into these conversational vignettes. And then from that point on, it's literally like a vice just being slowly turned, because for starters, they're drinking. And if you've seen the trailer, you know they're drinking LSD, right? And I think, even if you don't know that, there's so many on-the-nose shots of people taking that drink that
Yeah.
you got to start to think at some point that something is happening.
Yeah.
But it's very slow, like it probably would be in real life, right? It's not, that stuff can take like an hour or more to hit you. And like, which is how a lot of people get in trouble, right? Because like you think like, oh, I should
They're like,
take
it's
more.
not working.
Yeah.
I need 2 more tabs.
But like people are drinking this stuff, they're having these conversations, and then like what you're seeing in this conversation is this all of these social tensions bubbling to the surface, and like people are starting to get in arguments. You're starting to see animosity between them, and then it just keeps getting cranked up, and then it leads into this like just filthy conversation between these two dudes that is like almost embarrassing to watch. Like, you know, you're in 2019, you're a little like, I don't even feel comfortable listening to this right now.
it's long too.
but
It's a
again, I
long-
think
they
it's-
have a
but, like,
long chat.
Again, I think it's like you know what's about to happen, and what he's doing is he's giving you I'll look into these characters' state of minds, and you can immediately see how this type of like feeling and aggression could go bad.
Yeah, I mean
I-
that scene right there is when we talked about this in the email is what really pointed out to me that the first half is better than I took it in the first time, because when you think of that context, those two guys, I'm watching it not knowing much about what's going on, and it's like, okay, this is going on too long. This is gross. But you get to the end of the movie, and after seeing everything that's happened, you can see that they're ramping up, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I think that conversation, like, that is like such a small little, like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but like, I think that's a
Microcosm?
perfect, yeah, of like how this movie amps up, because like those two guys start with, oh, there's a lot of attractive women here,
Yeah.
like blah blah blah, like kind of back and forth, and then by the end of like, we kind of cut away, then we cut back to them. By the end, they're literally talking about like, I'm gonna go like do awful things that this one woman's behind, like. It's, and you know, at that point, like Eric's absolutely right, like you kind of see them drinking and you kind of get the idea that like, all right, something's in the sangria, because they keep making a point of showing that people are drinking it. So like you can start to like piece together like, all right, these guys are like progressively getting
And then
more
I
and
just-
more like whacked out.
I loved how subtle and restrained this part was, because
Yeah.
the first hint, like you start to see like hear little weird things in their conversation, like what it tends to do is kind of make you dissociative and kind of like you think you're making sense but you're not. And like the first thing that I kind of picked up conversationally was the guy talking about how the flag freaked him out. He's
Yeah,
like, yo,
yeah.
man, that
Yeah.
flag's fucking weird. And you're just like, what are you talking about? They don't even show it.
No,
He's
I
just-
really wanted to see what the flag was.
I didn't even. I must have missed that line
That to
altogether.
me, that to me was the first subtle turn of like these people are starting to talk nonsense talk, and it's like again, like he really makes you wait for it. It's at about 45 minutes in, a character finally says like, "What's in this drink?" And at that point, you're kind of the crest of the hill, and then it just bombs down. But those few moments, even like that 5 minute span around that, like before that and right after it, before it's totally gone off the rails, is some of the like most tense, brilliant filmmaking I've seen in a long time. Like, because just like as the momentum picks up and some characters are noticing it and others aren't, and the camera does it the whole movie, the camera is basically bouncing around different POVs. It's sort of following someone around and then picking up with somebody else and following them, and then it's following
and
nobody, and then it's
yeah,
back to somebody else.
It's in this period too, or in this part of the film, we get the first of those really long tracking shots, and it's 15 minutes long, and it's bouncing conversation to conversation, and I think even the effect of using a shot like that is it is in some ways disorienting, right?
Cutting away gives you relief.
Yes,
Not
exactly.
cutting away forces you to stay in that moment and stay engaged with it in a way that then becomes
Exactly.
increasingly
Well,
difficult to do.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, where like it's almost like it's daring you to skip ahead, because like you get so uncomfortable with some of these shots, and like even like the upside down shot that you guys were talking about, and even some of these like long panning shots where they're just walking through the corridor, like you start to feel nauseous at a point, because like there's just, especially when they're walking down the hall, like you see stuff kind of happening to the right and like hallways, and you hear like screaming. I think Eric brought up the point that what is it, Tainted Love is playing or something at one point,
That's
and like
later
just-
on, yeah.
you just kind of hear it through the walls, and like you know something awful's happening. There's like screaming, like it's just it's a lot.
So yeah, like it slides downhill and like violence happens very quickly, but it's a weird thing where like even towards the end when when you're literally like in the seventh circle of hell, there's still times where they'll wander back into the main dance area and there's some people just dancing.
Just still dancing.
Yeah, like
But that dude with the loose arms and the loose
oh
joints
my
Oh.
god,
all
dude.
night long, he was happy as could be.
Like, can you imagine hallucinating and then being around a dude who can like double joint like
Do weird like
shit.
lobster arms.
But that felt, it all felt real to me, because it was an element. There's an element of the music was so loud, and once you get
it
into
does
this
it to
part of the
you,
film,
like it
it's-
entrances you watching it because it never ends. The music is going
Well,
for like an hour straight.
yeah, I mean, at this point in the movie, it's almost just a music video with this
Yeah.
this dance music going underneath at a pretty high volume. But as you say, they sort of move in and around this space, and people start making horrible decisions and just doing terrible things. But there is this core group that doesn't really leave the dance floor.
Yeah.
Including the woman who just decides to like pee in the middle of the dance floor, which
Oh Lord.
that was That was like
Brianna
right at the
Tarth.
top.
That was one of the
the
first. Yeah, it was right before you. It was as things were turning. Yeah, that was like the first real crazy thing.
She was so dirty, and I found her insanely attractive. Like just like ridiculous.
Why is that the least shocking
Oh,
thing I've ever
Joe.
heard?
She was German too, I think.
You know what I
Yeah.
felt like at some point? I felt like I was on like a haunted house ride, which is like kind of a weird way to describe it, but it's literally like, especially because in a way it's like an on rails video game because the way the camera never cuts and you're just floating through everything and like
Mhm.
you float out of the dance floor, you're going down the hallways, there's like this great colored like Argento-esque lighting, and you just hear I had headphones on, so I was really getting like this surround effect where you hear voices on different sides screaming and wailing and laughing and like moaning, and then you see something happen in the hallway that's really disturbing, and then it kind of loops back around. It's like as you approach every hallway, every room, as you reapproach the dance floor every time, you are like nervous because you don't know what it is you're going to see happening when you come back out, when you land on wherever the camera's taking
Yeah.
you.
It
Absolutely.
really works well too. Is when you think about it too, with the way they shot that, because it's kind of circling around through the thing, through all the hallways and stuff as it goes. So every time he makes another pass, you
Yeah.
start seeing what's different and what's going crazier and stuff like that, which was really effective. Like with the mom, when you go past one time and she is taking her kid into putting him to bed, and you go back another time and he's up. And they catch him trying to drink the sangria, and they catch him. You
Oh,
go
he
around
wasn't
another
trying.
time.
You're
Yeah.
you're
But you
understand
go
you're
around
under
again, and it's changed again, and she's got him, in the electrical room, and then all of a sudden, the next pass around, she's lost the key, and it's just kind of nutty.
You're underselling that though, because like it's the moment. So like she's got a kid. There's all this talk about how she basically just got knocked up, whatever, decided to keep it. There's a lot of like angst in this movie about having children, having them by accident, whatever. Like there's this other pregnant woman that's having issues, but this woman kept this kid. He's at this party. Like she's the elder statesman. She kind of runs this troop or whatever. This kid should not be there, but he is, and she tries to put him to bed. You forget about him. He's gone for like a half an hour of the movie, maybe more. And then like in the midst of the chaos, as it's spiraling, you turn and that kid has a cup in his hand and he's drinking. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's the
Oh shit.
it's kind of the moment where you realize this movie is not effing around and it's going to get worse. Like, and it's probably never going to get better. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of this movie signaling you where it's willing to go. That my heart sank in that scene. It was like,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll say one of the things that made me the most uncomfortable in this entire movie was the fact that the title comes up 45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
again, that's why
That
when
was-
I talk about like being a fart smelling movie, like there's such pretentious weird art house titles just strewn throughout the whole movie.
Well, it
But I
starts
freaking
with
loved it.
it
there's-
literally starts with like the line is in there. I forget what it is exactly, but it says like this is a French movie and like we're goddamn proud of it or something. Like they're pretty much saying like this is gonna be like just fucking over the top ridiculous,
Like,
and we don't give a
the
shit.
movie starts with like end credits, and then the movie.
The movie
starts.
starts with
it
a
does do the full end
Jason
credits.
with Jason arguing for whatever the fuck that movie is that he loved and argued
Glass.
on here. It starts with a like I know this is gonna be weird. I don't care.
Well, and that's the part I was talking about too, when there's a clear demarcation, because that's as weird as it was for him to throw the title and start going through all the names of all the dancers that are starring in this movie, all stylized and everything, and the music's building in the background, but it's also the definitive mark when shit goes crazy.
I mean, they
And
really.
Was there two different like those weren't the names of dan? They were just like names of bands like that.
No,
Well,
well,
no,
so-
they
I think
were
it
the
was some of the
Or
dancers.
did he do the dancers later? too?
Well, there was it was both. It was basically a second credit sequence with all of the dancers, and then to your point, there was some bands and like
Yeah,
all
they did
this-
throw some bands in
Yeah.
there.
I thought they were all like fantastic in this movie. Like I can't imagine. I mean, obviously, especially with the type of acting you're doing here, and a lot of it is just straight up dancing. But there's a lot of like the kind of place emotionally they're asked to go here for people who like are not traditionally trained actors. I thought
Crazy,
they were
yeah.
like really impressive. The one actress that you would recognize is her name Sophia? Is that what her name is?
in the
Patella?
movie, or
Yes.
In
No, in real life.
No, John, in
Uh,
a different movie.
Mm.
no? I meant. Did you mean the character's name? Whatever.
No, I
The
just mean,
Mummy.
I'm just saying there is an actress in this movie, and we've seen her
Yes.
in. We saw her in The Mummy. She's also in Atomic Blonde. She's been in a lot of stuff. And that's an interesting choice. Probably smart to sort of have one person there to kind of ground everybody in what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think the mom, who is actually a trans actress, from what I read, has been an actress before too. But all the rest of them were just dancers, and I don't mean that as just dancers, but they never acted before.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and I think like
They're actors and models, is what you're trying
but
to say.
it turns out to be smart though. I think to potentially to like get people who are sort of approaching it from a different perspective.
Well, yeah, and the film is so physical.
physical, yeah.
Like I said, the dialogue ends up not being really
No.
super critical by the time you really get into this. The other character that I loved was the DJ, who
Oh,
is
God.
also sort of I think he's a DJ. I mean, if you look at his IMDb credits, it's him playing himself in what I presume is like the French, I don't know, voice or something. It's
Yeah, his name was like Kitty Smile or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I went to college with him.
Well, he's on the soundtrack as well. At least the list that you sent around, Joe.
Yeah,
He's like one of the-
I kind of
performers.
loved his relationship with like his little friend there.
Yeah,
Especially
the-
like where they
the-
end up in the morning. I was like, oh, that's adorable.
The gay virgin.
Yeah.
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 Well,
It
yeah,
was
he kind of
one-
he did with that kid like we did with Andy at Horror Hound too. He's like, okay, it's time for you to go to bed now.
Yeah,
Come with
it's
daddy.
like his little protector.
I don't know. I
I think he was
not
using
sure.
daddy like differently than we
Yeah.
might use daddy.
Yes, it's different. It's
Yeah,
different.
I'm
Well, he
not
called him.
convinced.
Everybody called him daddy all night though.
It's different,
Oh,
Joe.
true.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not convinced they just went to bed.
Eh.
I don't think
I
they
don't
just
know.
called it a night. and
I like
then-
to think that was a tender embrace, Joe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that guy, when that guy let his hair down, like I was completely thrown off.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a whole conversation about how the little guy was still a virgin. So
Yeah.
I'm going with the loving embrace too with Eric.
At any point, did you guys think if they made a Dance Dance Revolution movie, this would be it?
It does make me think I'm on acid most of the time.
Yeah.
I try to
Did you
play
guys
that
did you
game,
guys see that Dance Revolution movie? It gets a little dark at the end.
It was fucking weird.
Yeah, I mean like it's just I mean it's literally a horror show by like an hour in, and it's just it's unrelenting. Like I said, it's harrowing is the word that I use to describe it. Everybody is very sweaty. There's a lot of vomit. There's a lot of like violence. Just I mean, there's some violence that is and could be tough to watch. I think for some people, like not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty.
It's
brutal.
not. Yeah. Even that though. Again, it's not. We watch a lot of shit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think
It's
it
not
was
gratuitous.
grotesque
I think
and-
is the way to
Yeah.
say it. It's not. You're not going to get gored out.
But it's the mental images that you're gonna get from it, and what you'll remember about this movie is almost darker than anything that's shown.
It's just
mean,
like
from-
you know, it's like suffocating because you just like there's no escaping something like that. Like they are in it and they have to live it, and it's like so you're seeing them try to cope with it basically. The ones that are even
Uh,
lucid enough to even like think that far into it. you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I mean, we didn't even discuss the fact that they essentially murder someone pretty early in the film by just throwing him outside and making him go out into the snow.
I mean more
I'll
than more
say-
than one person.
Oh, all right. It was just
Because-
I'm just remembering one right now.
So,
but
but they
I
because they
thought only
threw,
pushed one person out.
no, but they throw the dude out, and
Yeah.
then they stab the girl later, and she goes outside, and I think she's the one that we see in the snow.
oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they didn't stab her though. She did herself. They just encouraged her.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Details.
Well,
The-
I couldn't figure out that was the like if you have to nitpick things in this movie and whatnot, and they see at the end, you don't know that the guy that gets thrown out was what had happened to him until the very end of the movie. But at the same time, my thought was, why didn't he just walk somewhere or go to the front door?
Well,
Yeah,
he was
well,
also on the
messed
acid, so I'm
up,
assuming
yeah.
he had.
No, he wasn't. That's why they threw him out because he hadn't
Didn't he?
drank anything. And they said because they said he didn't drink it, it had to have been him.
Right. But wasn't there somebody? The pregnant woman didn't drink either,
Right.
but she started getting whacked out also.
Yeah. Well, I think she was having
For whole
some
other
issues,
reasons.
and they were
Yeah, I
also
don't know.
all screaming at
what-
her. I don't know.
I will say
It's a lot.
if I have to offer any criticism of the film,
You
it's
don't.
that well no I don't, but I would say the last like when it really climaxes, I honestly was struggling to understand what the hell was going on.
Oh,
Which
100%. Yeah.
I understand to a certain extent. That's sort of the point. Although it felt like it mattered a little, and there were times where I was squinting and being, "Who the hell
Yeah.
is?" They're like,
Yeah.
"What's going on?" And part of it was the camera wasn't just like upside down; it was spinning, and again, all intentional choices, and ultimately where it actually ends or how it ends. It can only go one place, right? Like, so. And I liked the way that the final shot was handled, or the I guess penultimate sort of shot with the overhead views of the people who essentially did survive and how they survived versus
I like
some of the
I
other
like
folk.
the upside down shot of the cops strolling in and being like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, at first too, because I didn't know for sure. Once the cops did show up and they open up the door, you get the big blinding light to signal, "Hey, you're at the end," which is kind of cool. But when they first walked in there, my first thought was, "Jesus Christ, did they all overdose?"
Lucky,
Because of the way
well,
they're out there, and
yeah.
they let that linger until you see them stir, which is
And
cool.
I wouldn't expect like everybody to know this as much as I do, but you can't overdose from LSD. You can go crazy, but it's not going to actually kill you.
Yeah, your body
But
will
again, like
stop
that's
it.
another scary thing about this whole scenario is that like dosing is really important. And like they were just chugging, some of them were just downing sangria, right? And like you don't
Yeah.
know how much some people took versus other people, and
That
it's
David
like,
guy had like 5 or 6 glasses. He was drinking other people's
yeah,
glasses.
yeah, and that doesn't end very well for him.
No, David.
I can't remember if he even survived. We don't have to like get
I
into it,
mean,
but
yeah,
Yeah.
he's
again,
sort of the bad guy of the movie, if
Yeah.
there's a bad guy.
he
So.
is, but also like when there
He
is
wasn't
when there,
necessarily like evil.
when there is violence
no.
perpetrated on him, it doesn't it still feels bad. Like it doesn't feel like it should be
Yeah,
happening. You
you're
know?
not.
Yeah.
It's not a pure
He's-
genre film in that you're not rooting for anyone to like get
But
got by the end.
He's just
but-
kind of a shithead. I don't know.
I
Like
don't know.
you
I mean, the guy that tried to force himself on his sister, I
mean,
could have.
I think
I would
he's
have been
the
happy to see him.
I think he is the straight up like clearest bad person in this.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but
the
like
incestuous
Eric
rapist.
said-
Okay, I'll walk down.
But
this
what
road.
I'm
At the
saying is,
same
but
thing,
to
though-
your point, that other dude, like he's just kind of an a hole. Like I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, fair,
Yeah.
fair.
But like I think Erica was saying at the beginning too, and we watched the brother and sister and their audition tape. You knew something was wrong there, anyways.
It was weird, yeah, and they kept
Yeah.
they hit that point a lot before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
It's a wild movie, dude.
Yeah.
One of the points you made, Eric, earlier that resonate. I mean, in some ways, if you just evaluate this movie for the fact that it makes you feel stuff and
Yeah.
go through a range of emotional responses, you don't get many movies as powerful as this one in that regard. So
Well, it's funny as we're talking about it. What I'm realizing is that I have like much more cogent thoughts on the first half because it's a thing that I can more quantifiably like break down in my head, whereas most of what I think about the second half is like fuck, just like that's all I got. It's hard to articulate feelings on the second half because it's just a lot. It's
My most overwhelming feeling at the end of this movie was having never tried LSD. I decided I didn't miss out.
yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I mean, look, like being given it accidentally is definitely not the way you want to approach that. And like they all immediately get mad, right? Because they didn't want to do this, and so that then colors their reactions, and that just you get stuck in it. You know what I mean? And it amplifies, and then there's this groupthink thing happening as well, where everybody's amped up, and it's just like a really, really terrible scenario. All around.
Well, I mean, just wait till the BGH gathering in September.
Oh my god! Don't even say that, dude.
I really enjoyed the choreographers, Sophia Boutella, who we saw in The Mummy. We already had this conversation in email. But I liked her absolute freak out because hers was kind of different from everybody else. She just freaked the fuck out, which I thought was interesting with all the other chaos that was going on. Like John said, the bad decisions being made. Hers wasn't necessarily bad decisions being made. She just freaked out.
It's kind of interesting too, and like again, where this movie gets super artsy fartsy is like when the freakouts are kind of mixed with dancery stuff, right? Like again, like it's all about movement, and they're freaking out and writhing around the floor, but also they're like kind of dancing sometimes, like while doing it because it's just kind of what their body naturally does, and she does a lot of that in particular in that scene where she finally breaks down. It's crazy, man. I don't think
Crazy,
we have to
bro.
really get into like the ending and stuff. This is just kind of available wide now.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna recommend it. So
Yeah.
How do you feel, John? You ready to smoke a cigarette now?
Maybe just lay down. Just get a
Maybe
nap
have a
in.
baguette.
Yeah.
Some butter. Sure.
Climax, Joe. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'd recommend it for sure.
Casey,
I liked it. So yes.
Mr. John.
Yes.
Yeah, I think too, though, John, we talked about like unequivocally, you have to know what you're getting into with this thing. You know what I mean? Like you gotta
yeah.
you gotta calibrate yourself. You gotta be ready for something weird. It's like you gotta kind of be ready to hop
Yeah.
on the train and go with
Don't,
it.
I mean, don't sit down and watch this with your mom. You know? I mean, probably not, unless you got a really cool mom. But yeah. If you end up being surprised about where this goes, you might have a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys.
So-
Climax. It's gonna do it for that part of the show. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
There's a friendly motel
We'd like a room for the night. Come on inside, I'll fix you up.
featuring a heated pool and competitive sports. Where Ida and Farmer Vincent tend a garden. Their famous secret garden for very special guests. Drop in. You just might die laughing. Motel Hell rated R.
This is Courtney Gaines and Malachi from Children of the Corn, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Joe,
What's up, man?
I'm preparing to drop some potentially hot takes on my 2019 year-end list here.
I have it in front of me.
What do we got? What's my top five
you
right
like-
now?
You have top two right now. You have Lords of Chaos and Happy Death Day to You at 1 and 2 at the moment, and that's it.
Okay. I think this is number one.
Oh, okay. And what about last week? You liked
And-
The
and
Wind.
I think The Wind is, oh man, number two for now.
Okay, so
Ooh.
we're
Hot takes,
bumping
John.
everything down, and we're putting Climax at number 1 and The Wind at number 2.
It's funny. I feel like I've gone from being like, I feel like I don't have enough stuff on my list to being like, oh man, 2019 could be a good year.
I mean,
In
we're
a
we're
span of
we're
2
5
weeks.
months in. You got 4 movies, so
Yeah.
okay.
It's not bad. That works.
We'll
And-
get there. We'll get there, man.
Thanks, man. All right, one email info@bloodygoodhorror.com is email address. The life questions have now made it to email.
Mm.
This is Caitlin. Caitlin is a long time, Joe.
Ooh.
She says, my boyfriend recently moved in, and while doing laundry, I noticed he does not turn shirts right side out if he knows what shirt it is. He even hangs them up inside out. I have to make sure they're turned right side out if I'm folding or hanging so they're ready and it seems more finished, right? Question mark? Should I call the police and report him as a threat?
Yes. Wait, is he leaving button-up shirts inside out?
So my personal,
I'm assuming these are T-shirts.
I'm gonna say for washing, I don't care, but for
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
folding
agree.
or hanging up, I feel like they should be. Right
Yeah,
side
that's my
out.
question. Like, does he get to the folding stage and they're
Right.
still inside out?
That's a little serial killery, I think. But like, I am not. I take my shirt off, it's inside out. I don't care. It's all going in the water.
On the flip side, like, I would love to be that carefree where I could just fold my shirts inside out and then just like pick one out and be like, I don't even care what this is. I'm just putting it on and everything's Irene, man.
Joe, you're the only person I've ever seen iron a T-shirt.
I-
That's all I'm saying.
Oh no,
Really?
dude,
Yeah.
I iron my jeans. I iron like everything I wear.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't you have wrinkles all over your shirts if you don't?
I iron nothing. Wrinkles? Who gives a shit?
Well, that
Yeah, I
doesn't
don't
surprise
iron
me.
anything either.
Whatever. You're
I
just
feel
because
like
you're au pair
You're
does
the
it, Joe.
kind of guy that like your poor wife has ironed everything for you for years and you've never even noticed.
She will iron an occasional shirt like if we're going out or something, but otherwise, no.
Eventually, she's gonna leave you, and then all of a sudden, John's gonna notice that every shirt he owns is wrinkled, and he can't figure out why.
Here's the other thing, John. Do you
My
also
shirts are all wrinkled. I know why.
do you
I don't
all
iron them.
do you also use some kind of like crazy, dryer sheet and like fold, put your hang your clothes up immediately so they don't get wrinkled?
Do you do your laundry? Or do you guys
Okay.
use it?
Okay, then you're walking around looking like a scumbag, dude. That's what irons are for.
Yeah, you're a disgusting trash person.
Yeah.
I can't believe you get hired places. Do you at least iron before a job interview?
Yeah. Well, those are dry clean shirts mostly.
La-di-da.
What kind of life are you living, man? I don't understand.
Do you not have like dry clean only clothes, or like
I have
clothes that you
never
take to dry
once in
clean?
my life taken anything to a dry cleaner.
Yeah,
No.
I haven't done
What
that
do you do
either.
with it? What do you do with your suits? Do you have suits?
John, I wear a suit once a year. It doesn't need to get washed unless I spill something on it.
Absolutely.
I mean, every time I wear a suit, I spill something on it. So
Okay.
maybe that's just me.
I've seen
I'm
you.
the same. I like once every 3 years I'll wear a suit, and if it gets dirty, it's time for a new one.
Like, by
that's-
the- by the t-
I
by
sweat like a pig too. Like my suit would smell like BO.
No,
and,
like by the time I wear it the
one
next year, it just smells like
yeah,
like
nature's
my
done its
closet.
course.
Yeah. It's just aired
Oh
out.
my god! I'm pretty sure your wives have been taking your suits to get dry cleaned and
No.
not telling you, so that you
Absolutely
don't
not. Leslie,
John.
no.
I don't think you understand how little I
Oh my
actually
God.
wear a suit.
Yeah,
I've-
the
I've-
half-life of my stink that I leave in suits is by the time it's time to wear it again, it's gone.
Yeah.
I haven't owned a suit in quite a while.
Yeah,
And
it's
if not, like, fuck you. You invited me to this stupid shit show that I have to wear a suit to, so you smell me, prick.
Oh man, see,
Mark,
I have like 4 weddings this year that I have to go to. I don't know.
That's on you for making friends.
No,
Yeah,
it's all family. Believe me, if I could not go, it's
That's
it
on
would be
you
the
for
table.
speaking to your family. I don't know. Same
All right, there you go. Fair. Fair play.
Anyway, Caitlin, there you go. You started another show destroying argument. Thank you.
Yeah.
No more emails. Joe, what do we got on Twitter?
Twitter, we take a look at 2 hashtags. First one, BGH Classics. That's if you're listening to an old episode, something we say tickles your fancy, you want to send it in, use the hashtag BGH Classics. We got a few here. First from Flora Duhan, our good friend Flora. She neglected to mention who said this, but it's a good one. I don't want to live in a world where Nicolas Cage can't die. That was episode 154, Drive Angry.
I know, that's fascinating. Like, who said that?
Yeah.
And who, yeah, I do want to live in that world.
Yeah, I don't know. Drive Angry will always live in infamy. The wife and I mention it constantly because that's the movie I went and saw and got food poisoning about 10 minutes before the end. And
Oh.
did, in fact, drive angry home.
Oh.
And
Do you know what gave you the food poisoning?
yeah, so we're really bad at cleaning out our refrigerator. So like
Oh my
I never
God.
eat like lunch meat, but apparently we had some turkey in there that had expired like 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
Jesus Christ, Joe.
Dude,
And I just
four
was-
4 days on turkey is about my upper limit, like maybe 5.
At the time, Leslie was going to night classes, and she came home, and she's like, "What'd you eat for dinner?" I'm like, "I don't know. I had that deli, the turkey meat in the fridge." And she's like, "What turkey meat?" And then like digged out the package. She's like, "This is expired like 2 weeks ago."
Oh god, dude. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
If I catch a hint of something not right with deli meat, I am chucking it. I don't care how much I paid for it.
Oh yeah.
Plus side,
Yeah.
I dropped like 15 pounds.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
It's slimy after like
It gets-
3
it gets-
days over.
It gets
Yeah.
gross, yeah.
Apparently, after like 2 weeks, it like the slime goes away, like it regresses. And then we got 3 from our good friend Codiolo. Codiolo. First one, this is Schnar says, "This bush was attached to a woman." And that was Paranormal Activity, the marked ones.
All right.
Also from that same episode, this is me. I almost died driving to see this, and I thought, if this is how I'm gonna go, I hate you guys. Also Paranormal Activity, the marked ones. And then one Evil Dead from Mark, the mark one. Every rock you turn over at the Newell house has porn under it.
Oh yeah, we were talking about finding my dad's stash when we were kids.
Oh, I know that stash well.
Very 70s.
Ay.
Let's see. And then we also use the hashtag AskBGH. That's every week. If you need a question or comment about the movie or just need some life advice, you can use that and send it on in. First one from our good friend who apparently last week you guys were talking about dad bods or something, and she nicely chimed in and said that she's all for it. So this one is in reference to that. This is Nyla Davinger, I believe is how you're going to say that. In reference to breeders wearing horror t-shirts, dad bods are even hotter when rocking genre wear. Isn't the alternative of white New Balances and blue jeans way more terrifying? Yeesh.
To which I responded, "There's got to be a mid ground."
Yeah, I agree. And no, whatever. That's what I wear all the time. So I actually don't. I don't know what you mean. New Balance shoes? I don't wear New Balance. Who wears New Balances?
I actually responded to her too. I had a panic moment because I always wear my genre shirts with blue jeans and my New Balance dad sneakers, so I thought I was doing it wrong.
No, I refuse to buy New Balances for that exact reason.
And then she sent in another one. Recently, a Nastygram asked me. I think this will probably be more for you. Eric,
received a Nastygram.
Is that what it? Oh, I said the wrong. Yeah, received a Nastygram asking that I not post my Game of Thrones feels after it airs. No spoilers given. I would never do that, but I am vocally displeased with this last season. Is this my problem? I say they should stay off the socials if they're gonna get butthurt.
Yeah, I mean, you can't I don't know if we talked about this, John, but there was some kind of major meltdown with Chromecast and HBO.
Oh yeah.
During last week's episode, and
I didn't know that, but you mentioned it.
I couldn't stream it to my TV, and I'm like, I have to watch this. There's no way I cannot. If I don't watch this, I won't make it to work before I get spoiled. Like everybody I work with was, you know what I mean? Like even if I stayed offline, it wouldn't help. So yeah, that's on that person, I think. You know, and if they don't like it, they can unfollow you.
I don't, and this is no knock against Game of Thrones, but I don't think I remember any show ever just having people so like ridiculously up in arms.
It's crazy, dude. I have more feelings about this
show.
Have
you been on the internet ever? Like
I have more.
You name one other show where you've seen people like this.
This is different,
feverish.
dude. This is different because I have more feelings about this show than anything I've ever watched. But beyond that, the swath of people that it cuts across is insane. Like you talk about normies, like. It runs the gamut, the people into the show. And so you've got people just engaging with it at different levels, you know what I mean? And then it's just, you've got book readers, non-book readers, you get like people who are way into the lore, people who just watch the show and don't care. It's crazy. It really is like a phenomenon, Joe.
I don't know.
I was going to say people get this upset about politics, I would say, on the Reddit.
Yeah.
So
well, that's the thing. Like, I almost feel like Trump put out the Game of Thrones season to like take away from like what he's doing.
I mean,
because I don't see any political stuff anymore. It's all just Game of Thrones.
In some sense, it's actually nice to just be upset about a stupid thing that doesn't matter than worrying about the world ending.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know. I am just anxiously awaiting whatever special flavor Oreos they put out for Big Little Lies season 2.
Dude, I can't wait. That show is so good.
So good. Very excited.
Have you seen that, John?
Wait, do we want to quickly touch on? Are you guys excited about Watchmen, or is it just me that's going to be excited about that?
I don't know. I watched the trailer. I don't know how I feel about it.
It looked alright. I never saw the movie. I'm vaguely aware of.
I mean, have you read the book or?
I bought it and I read. I can't read comic books, dude.
I'm excited, John, and this one isn't taking off.
We definitely had this.
Themselves.
We definitely had this conversation on the show like a decade ago when I bought that book when the movie came out and was just like, I just don't get it. It's fine. If the people are into comic books, that's fine. It's not my thing.
It's all right. We should just move on because it's just gonna make me upset. So
yeah,
it's stupid, John. The whole thing looks stupid, and you're stupid for liking it.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my thing. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with Eric. Like I'm done with comics. I think in general.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. You guys have good opinions. That's fine. It's really good.
We'll have our Watchmen moment when it comes on, John.
John, you don't argue or you don't. Oh man, I wish I had been able to say that while you were drinking. You don't iron any of your shirts, so your opinions are invalid. on everything.
Just to be clear, I don't care what you think about the Watchmen. The like blanket, like I'm not reading comics that's what upsets me. So
Listen,
it's like blanket. I'm not reading.
I'm reading
what
real.
the hell is that
I'm,
book?
I'm
you
reading
over
real
here?
books. What the hell do you want from me?
Yeah.
I don't have to like. I don't have to like everything.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I never read them as a kid, so I don't have that nostalgia that people have for it.
Well, it's not nostalgia. It's just a different art
Please.
form.
There's
It would
a lot
literally
of
be like
They're
people
still
saying
making
like, "Yeah, I don't really like movies. Like they're movies. I don't get them." It's actually very similar.
How's it any
No,
different from like not reading like those Harlequin romance novels? Like I don't feel like reading
Oh,
yeah.
those. Like
It's like, oh, I don't play video games. Just I never got video
So
games.
I have to engage.
a lot of people
so,
don't play video games.
So what
sure, and
you're
I think they're weird
saying?
too.
So what you're saying is that every person has to engage with every single type of art form, no matter what it is.
Well, I
No,
don't
just
care
the
what.
ones that John likes. They have to conform to this.
First of all, I actually don't care what most people do, but like you guys, I actually feel like would like them if you gave them a chance because I know what you like, and you like a lot of the same stuff that I like, and so it's weird to me that you're just like,
it's
I can't
not-
think of one thing that you and I like together. Just to be honest.
Since you won't drop this,
fair.
I'm gonna get into it more. It's like so much. It's like I'm looking at 2 pages. There's like 3 lines of dialogue. It's just this. This is comic book reading. Just flipping the page. I'm flipping the
Yeah.
page.
Well,
I'm reading it. I'm
I
flipping
mean,
the
you're
page.
supposed
Just look at what else is going on in those panels.
Great. And I
man.
look at it for 2 seconds and I'm like, cool. The guy's punching the other dude. Like, who cares? Like, I don't.
So there's also I will.
No, you're right. It's just a lot of guys punching each other. Forget it.
Yeah,
We should move.
I'll back John up and say, you know, way
95%
more than
punch.
there's a way more comic books than the dudes in their underwear.
We're-
fighting
I
back.
don't think we're winning this. Okay, Let's just move on.
I actually went through a phase like 7 or 8 years ago where I started buying them semi regularly, and I just decided one day I was like, I don't like this.
Same exact thing. When I first moved to New York, I had a bunch of buddies that read them, and I would go and I would try and get into them, and it wasn't my thing. I read Preacher. That was the only thing I did start to finish.
Just to be clear, like I don't like go to a comic book store. I wish I did. I wish I had the time and like money to commit to it. But like
I
buying.
feel like you probably do, John, based on the amount of time you spent
Listen,
away from
I
your
actually did it. I started going to the store, then I downloaded the app, and I started getting like the digital ones. I just don't care. I don't care.
I would say just go through the classics, go back and
No.
read the collections,
No,
and
I'm done.
that's all you need.
No,
Or
I
don't.
tried it. I'm 36 years old, John. I have other things to do.
Ship
All right.
has sailed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good Lord, leave me alone.
You watch this entire season of Big Brother that comes on this summer, and I'll fucking read Superman. All right.
Yeah, deal.
I don't want you to read Superman.
Superman. I like how Joe just picked the most generic comic thing he could possibly think of.
I'll read I don't know, Bad Boy or whatever it is.
Detective Comics.
Detective Man.
You got to start at the beginning, right? Issue 1, 1940.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Exactly. You won't get it. You won't get it otherwise.
Otherwise, I won't understand it all. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
All right, here we go.
You brought this on yourself, John, because you wouldn't let it go.
Oh, I love this.
Oh no. I would say you both brought it on yourself, but that's okay.
I like that you think that Eric and I aren't pighead enough that even if we did discover they were like comic books, we would never admit
no,
it.
you could
I
never
would.
tell me.
I would
know.
never
I
tell.
literally have a stack next to me right now.
I would never tell.
Yeah. I know. Listen, I know how this works, guys. I've
you,
been here long enough.
You insured that tonight.
Yeah.
All right, we got a few more here. Next up from our good friend Lycanthropy, that's Alyssa. She just asks, "Werewolf astronauts?" Question mark. I don't follow what that is.
I was just gonna say yes.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I
great.
thought it might have been a reference to last week's
I
show.
mean,
or something.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, why not? All right, next up from Ben Jacobs DBQ or Jacobson. What is your favorite movie musical? And if it's not Little Shop of Horrors, why do you hate Joy? Is it because of Rick Moranis? Do you have a problem with Rick Moranis? You monsters!
I'm not a big.
That's up there for me.
I'm not
I mean,
a
that's
big-
in my
Yeah,
top
it is
5
up there.
for sure.
I'm not a huge musical person either.
No, I mean I do like Grease. It's not a bad movie.
Grease is fun.
I don't think I have an answer.
Wait, is it movie or is it the actual musical itself that he's asking?
I think he's movie musical.
You know what? You know what I wanted to see was that version. Like I have no context for it. I've never seen it any other way, but I wanted to see that version of Les Mis they did a couple years ago with Anne Hathaway, and
it was
Russell
alright.
Crowe.
that looked pretty good.
I worked in a video store around the time during my techno phase, and Evita had come out, and I've seen that movie probably like 8 or 9 times, and it's not awful.
I mean, I guess I would just say like Sweeney Todd by default because that's the one I've seen, and I was like, okay, cool.
John,
Yeah, Little Shop of Horrors is up there pretty high. I found out on accident going to the dinner theater with my wife that I absolutely hate South Pacific, though.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, it's that.
Yeah.
It's that.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That's
Alright.
more the experience, though, than the movie.
The movie's fun too. I mean,
Yeah, but you got to have the full experience for the full flavor.
I've told this story 100 times, but again, I rented that when it came on a VHS, and I was a kid, and I thought I was getting a horror movie, and I was extremely confused.
No, me too. I was like 11 years old too. It was a real weird time to see that movie.
Yeah, like when's the murdering gonna start?
What is?
Alright,
What are
next
they
up from-
doing? What?
Next up from Beard81 Dad, and unfortunately I did not listen to this. I didn't know this happened, but he says are going to Eric, if Eric and Joe are going to start reviewing Limp Bizkit covers, then I submit this for their consideration. Some band Spooky, I guess, is doing a cover of Take a Look Around, which I will check out. Maybe we can check in next week.
So
Did you sent an email like a couple weeks ago, but I haven't been on.
Yeah, it was a Japanese metalcore band. You said you didn't like it. I sent it to you. Remember?
Yeah, I did not care for it.
I liked it a lot, actually. Can you explain to me what metalcore is? That's the only real reason why I wanted to wait for you to be back on so I could bring it up.
It's so I actually pulled up like what the actual definition of. Pretty much it's a combination of like hardcore music and like metal, if you will.
Okay, so two things that I also don't know how they're defined.
Well,
Can you just do an impression of what it sounds like?
It's if you took like hardcore and metal and they had a kid and then they got like a weekend job at Hot Topics and like wore skinny jeans and just made awful sounds, like that's metal.
This is just starting to sound like comic books to me now.
Yeah, it pretty much it's not my thing. I can't think of one band that falls in that genre that I enjoy. It's a lot of whining. It's a lot of
Okay.
young gentlemen with flippy hair. It's not my thing. I'm sorry. But I will check out Spooky and their cover of Take a Look Around, and maybe we can talk about it next week.
The funny thing is about the Japanese band is they've been around since 2001, which means they basically did a cover of like a contemporary band.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I forget who sent it in, but he suggested that cover was better than the original, if I remember correctly.
I mean, I dug it. It was all right.
I'll call shenanigans on that bullshit.
Okay.
All right, we got a few more here. At Real Joe Scar, have any of the BGH crew ever accidentally ingested or smoked an illicit substance and gotten more than they bargained for? I'm looking at you, Casey.
Not accidentally. Definitely gotten more than I bargained for before. And those aren't stories. Yeah. I'm happy to tell those stories to people at the meetup, but not necessarily something I'm going to put in print. But
yeah, come on now.
I did have a friend who claimed that somebody had put acid in his beer, didn't tell him, and this dude was already like a little kind of tweaky to begin with, and flipped out, started damaging a bunch of property, and when the cops showed up, basically tried to fight the cops and ended up in jail. It's not a good scene. Don't do that to
jail,
people.
jail? Like, did they charge it? Was he charged?
Yeah. I mean,
boy.
He swung at the cop and knocked the cop like clean off his feet, basically, because he had like super acid strength. And the cop later told him that nobody had ever hit him that hard before.
God.
Don't do this to people. It's not funny. It's not a fun thing. I know you kids with your YouTube pranks and stuff. Like, don't put acid in people's drinks. It's a real bad time.
Yeah. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to any of your story. I was listening to this Spooky cover of Take a Look Around, and I will say that Limp Bizkit still will hold the candle because this is not great. But sorry, Jason's beard. All right, we got two more here. Let's bang them out. When will we get the Fred Durst impersonation face-off between Eric and Joe we all deserve? Maybe Chicago.
Joe's is much better, and also he's like Joe's a little more comfortable just going for it. Like you'd have to like record me when I don't think anybody's around and I'm doing it.
Yeah, yeah. It
Whereas
could be.
Joe,
I mean, maybe at the get together we could do our cover of All In Together Now, or no? What was the on? I think of Significant Other. There was a Korn and Limp Bizkit like rap battle,
oh,
or I think it was on Follow the Leader on the Korn album.
I don't think
All
I
in
don't
the
think
Family.
I don't
maybe,
think I've
it was
ever
called.
heard that, but if you find it, please send it to me.
Say what? Say what? It's terrible. I'll send it to you after this.
Well, one of my favorite moments, like underrated moments from the BGH tenure, was Joe in the shower, like unironically singing Nickelback that was playing on his phone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my running mix.
Yeah.
I mean, Nickelback gets so much shit, and I have no idea why, because I don't see them as any better or worse than half of the garbage you hear on radio. You know,
I can't have another argument about a thing I don't like this episode.
like how are they worse
I'm
than
not
like?
being sucked into
I
this.
can't do it.
How are they like worse than Coldplay? Like, what's the difference?
I mean, I'm fine with neither of them.
I
exactly.
could handle Coldplay in the background of like an elevator, whereas just hearing Nickelback makes my skin crawl.
No, man, I'm through with standing in lines. They're classic Nickelback. All right, we got one more here, and I lost it because I started looking up that. Our good friend Zombie Wasabi, John's personal trainer. Who's the best dancer?
It's not me.
It's definitely not. I don't think any of us are. Let's just go with Cece because she's not here.
Well, I was gonna say Andy.
Yeah.
Andy,
You think? Have you ever seen him dance?
I just feel like he's gonna go for it in a way that I just will not. So.
Would you say he's gonna dance like no one's watching?
Well, I was gonna say he lives his life like that fucking magnet that people have on their fridge.
That's right. I like it. Oh shit! You know what? I missed a couple here. From sorry, we got more. Bruno Weber. This is between this one and the other Gaspar Noe movie with a 3D ejaculation coming straight at the audience. Which do you guys think is the most family-friendly, feel-good film?
What movie did he do that was from?
That must have been Enter the Void.
I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do not want to know.
Then this was restrained in retrospect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also followed up with, also, it's very disappointing that you guys are not recording this episode in a hellish LSD frenzy.
I could turn my camera upside down.
Yeah.
We can't even be coherent together when we're drunk, let alone LSD.
No.
It's true.
It's for the best. And that is it for the tweets.
Oh, man.
For real this time. Before we wrap up, we should mention that all of our merch is going to be on sale between now and Sunday. If you go to bloodygoodhorror.com and click on the t-shirt link, you'll be able to get to that. And then we'll be posting up on social media too, but go give us money because we need it.
Do we?
Everybody's got kids to feed.
Yeah, no, we can use it. Next week we picked a movie. What's it called?
The Ranger.
Ranger Danger.
Yeah, it just landed on Shudder on the 9th. So get out there, you can watch it along with us.
I love it. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed our climax here this evening. Next week, The Ranger. We'll talk to you then.
See you.
Deuces, everybody.
Bye-bye.